Andy Capostagno joining us out of South Africa. Been a commentator over there calling their rugby for the best part of 3 decades. How are you, mate?
Strong on yourself.
Very good, thank you, sir. Now, obviously, you know, the news that your squad has been named probably down the bulletin order in South Africa, with still the overwhelming reaction being fear and awe and wonder at the All Blacks named the day before.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Headline news not.
Oh, come on, Andy. Surely you know that we're the biggest threat to you. It's a quarterfinal. That is a final. Come on.
Well, bear in mind that England's squad was announced on the same day as the All Blacks. Are you not trembling at that?
Not really, because I look at Steve Borthwick and I can't see a guy he just doesn't look to me like a World Cup winning coach. Do you know what I mean? I mean, he might be a great coach. He just doesn't come across like he is.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
Well, let's look at yours then to start with. And the big news that Siya Kolisi has been named World Cup winning captain from 2019. It's been called major knee surgery in April. What exactly was it? Because at various times it's been called a tweak and he was going to get through it without surgery, and now it's called major knee surgery. What exactly was it?
Well, I commentated on the game when he did it. The Sharks playing at Kings Park, and it was one of those, as soon as you saw it on the replay, you thought, oh dear, that's his World Cup gone. Obviously, he hasn't played since. I can't tell you whether it's an ACL or anterior or whatever ligament it is, but I can tell you that it looked very serious. Butch James was in the commentary box alongside me on the day, and Butch has had 4 major surgeries, 2 on each knee, but he, of course, is a World Cup winner. So where there's life, there's hope, and I think that they've probably got to the stage where Kolisi will play. Whether he will make it through the entire tournament is another question.
Okay, they say that he's going to be ready for that first match against Scotland. Do you think that is a possibility or a probability?
I think they might even slip him onto the bench for the game against the All Blacks at Twickenham. Just to frighten you guys. Okay. And yeah, I think the idea is that they want him to start the tournament, and to give that sort of little bit of quality that is required now that it's been confirmed that our 2 best backline players, Handrè Pollard and Lukhanyo Am, aren't in the squad.
Yeah, so those are the other 2 admissions. So that's 3 from 2019, and also, you know, so De Jager, Pollard, and Am, who all played in that final, of course, as well. So when it comes to the next couple of matches, mate, I mean, how do you actually look at these against Wales and against New Zealand? I mean, how do you play these 2 matches? Do you play your best team in those matches?
Well, I'm sure that the guys who are going to play for the All Blacks against the Springboks at Twickenham will be feeling exactly the same way that the Springboks will, which is, my God, I hope we don't hurt ourselves in the final game. The Welsh game, I think, is a chance for the Springboks to sort of just put a few parts together now that they know they haven't got Pollard and Am. And then the All Black game will be the genuine test. Incidentally, I believe it's sold out, which is fantastic. Over 80,000 people at Twickenham, and my daughter will be among them, I'm happy to say. And then we go into the tournament proper. It's going to be very different for the Springboks from what happened in 2019. If you remember, in 2019, they were the first team to arrive in Japan, and they spent a month there acclimatizing. They played a test match against the host nation, which they won easily. They won over the hearts and minds of the Japanese people that they interacted with. That's not going to happen this time around. And I have to say that without Am and Pollard, my feeling is that we probably can't win the World Cup.
Wow, is that right?
That's, to me, that's how important those 2 guys are. Lukhanyo Am, before he got injured, and right the way through the URC season, he just looked like on a different planet from every other backline player in South Africa. He's able to play inside and outside centre. He is a leader of men. He was being lined up. I think if Kolisi hadn't made it, then he would probably have been vice captain or even captain. He has the total respect of the players because of the way he plays in his position. And remember the way that he played in the final in 2019. And then with Pollard, now everybody will be talking about the fact that he's not there, therefore we don't really have a genuine world-class fly half. Marty Libbok is not a genuine world-class fly half. Damien Willemse has been sort of moved around and doesn't really know what his best position is. But most important of all is that Pollard's our best place kicker. And without a genuine world-class 80% place kicker, you can't win a World Cup, and that's what worries me more than anything else.
That is the gap between the first choice number 10 and your second number 10. That's massive, mate.
Yeah, it is. And there's absolutely no question about it. And people was sort of raving about Marty Libbok, but he's a bits and pieces player who's been around. He's bounced between 4 different franchises. He happened to have a good season for the Stormers last year. They got through to the final of the URC, and then they lost in this year's final, and he put on a little bit of a stinker of a performance, and sort of crumbled under pressure. And in the warm-up games that we've been playing hitherto, his place kicking really hasn't been up to very much. And my feeling is that even though he might start as the first choice number 10, if they get through to the knockout stages, I think he will have lost his place.
Andy Capostagno out of South Africa with us, and the Springboks squad has been named for the World Cup. This puts a huge spanner in the wheel, doesn't it, then, in that case?
Yeah, it is. There's absolutely no question about it. The only perhaps light at the end of the tunnel is that both Pollard and Am are travelling with the Springboks, and they are hoping against hope that they can get them ready. Pollard, we have been expecting to come right for a long time, but he hasn't come right. And remember that even though they're travelling with the squad, they can't just say, oh, well, we're available now, we'll go to the World Cup. Somebody has got to drop out through injury for either one of those two guys to get in. There is, of course, a precedent for that. Those of you with long memories may recall that in 1995, Chester Williams, who was the face that you saw on all the advertising, got injured just before the World Cup and only came back when there was an injury to Peter Hendricks, and he was able to play from the knockout stages onwards. He got 4 tries against the Samoans, and the Springboks never looked back. So there is a chance that either one or both of those key players will figure in the World Cup, but something else has got to happen to get them there.
How does this affect then, just in terms of the psychology of the team of South Africa as well, in terms of, I mean, you've got to be one of the favourites going in. Does this, how much does this alter that? And does it make any difference at all? Yeah,
well, I think it makes a huge difference because you're taking away quality that you can't replace. And if it was the fact that they were in an easy group, you'd say, well, they'll get through and they'll get better as they go along. But they're in the most difficult group. And you know, all the best teams in the world are in the top half of the draw, and the likes of Argentina and England have sort of got away with it in the bottom half of the draw, and that's the real worry. And bear in mind, when South Africa won in 2019, they still lost to the All Blacks, and they managed to come through after that setback and become the only team that won the trophy, but despite losing a game. But if it happens this time around, I don't think that they can come back from defeat against the All Blacks because the rest of the teams have so much more quality than was the case 4 years ago.
Andy Cap with us out of South Africa. Scotland, Romania, Ireland, Tonga in that order. You know, we've been debating here in New Zealand about, you know, the All Blacks, and you saw, you know, a B team effectively take the field against Australia in Dunedin, and we saw what happened. It took, you know, the introduction of a lot of bench players to actually resurrect that test match for us. So, you know, debating as to whether or not you pick your best 15, you play that team throughout this tournament week after week after week, and Justin Marshall's on yesterday is absolutely firm on that. How is South Africa going to approach this, given you've got Scotland, Romania, Ireland and Tonga, and, of course, the All Blacks just a couple of weeks before that? Are we going to see your strongest team in all of those games?
No. It'll be very similar to 2019, where they played effectively a dirt trackers team against Namibia and against who was the other one they played dirt trackers against? Canada, and you'll see that against the two minnows. The important game against Scotland and the vital one against Ireland, you will see the strongest side that South Africa can put out, but there's no guarantees that they'll come through either of those games. Scotland have come on in leaps and bounds, and Ireland are probably day in and day out the number one team in the world at the moment.
Well, hang on a second. I mean, I'd like to dispute that, and I'd like to debate that. I mean, and who's... I mean, for goodness sake, under what... Oh, that's right. They did beat us in New Zealand last year, didn't they? Now the Six Nations champion.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. There is that.
I remember that.
That's right. Yes, there is. We're slowly building away is what we are here. I like the fact the All Blacks are flying under the radar. What do you honestly think of the All Blacks, of the squad that we have picked, and also what do you think is going to happen with us at this World Cup?
I really don't know what to expect because I haven't seen anything from the All Black performances over the last few weeks that would leave anybody trembling. Yes, we know that on any given day you can beat anyone in the world and look like $1 million, but I do think that there are a few chinks in the armour, and pressure will come to bear on a lot of the guys who perhaps haven't been there, done that before. That's one thing perhaps in the favour of the Springboks, that they've got so many players who played in the 2019 World Cup, and they know what's expected of them. I think that the All Blacks are on target to meet South Africa in the quarterfinals. Is that right?
That's it, mate. Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, and it strikes me that that might be a bridge too far for the Springboks with those significant injuries. And I'd be delighted to be proved wrong. But I suspect if it comes down to that fixture, that the All Blacks will win that game. And then it'll come down to who do you meet in the semi-finals, who might you meet in the final. Can you beat Ireland? Can you beat France? I would suggest that those are the big questions to be asked rather than can you beat this one.
Devlin.
Oh, how does he do that? How does he do that?
The Platform.
129 iOS, it's only sport.